So I'll introduce first, then I'll.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone. Good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Today we are presenting the VFX film case study and CGI compositing presented by Mr. Saikrishnan Ganesan. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in the chat box or bring them up during the session, and we'll also have time for question at the end also or in between the sessions also. Today we'll be learning about the short preparation and previs. So here the sir is there. Okay. I want to introduce today presenter Mr. Saikrishnan Ganesan, a digital composer at DNEG, Chennai. He has done his master's degree in VFX from the University of Kent, UK, and started his career as a BG prep artist in Prasad EFX, which is in Chennai again. He was the senior composer and CG supervisor for Bahubali 1 and N3 2, which is also known as the Robot 2, and previous supervisor for the Bahubali 2 and Kashmora. Currently, he is working as a digital composer in DNEG. He was the part of many international projects too, such as Shark Tank Discovery Season 3, which is available in Netflix, Death of Nile, which is a movie, Away, a web series again on Netflix, Westward Season 3 on HBO, Stranger Things 3 on Netflix, Creed 2, a movie, and The Last Boys, which is Amazon Originals. It is an honor and privilege for us, sir, to have you with us today. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Mr. Sri Ganesan, sir. So,
Hey.
Sri Krishnan, sir, it's up to you now.
Yep. Thank you for your welcome. So first thing is I really thank you guys, to have me here. It's almost a year since you guys contacted me, and I committed that I'll be taking a class for you people, but I unfortunately missed at first time. Yeah, again, this time I got it right. So thank you for having me here to take the classes to share my knowledge and my experience to the upcoming VFX artist. So without wasting time, let's go. So I am Saikrishnan. I mean, as he has mentioned, I am Saikrishnan Ganesan. I don't think I might require a separate audio call introduction from me, but still I need to do it. So today I'll be taking care of you on life in VFX. What as an artist I generally do in day-to-day process, and how on-set preparation might happen, and VFX case studies on and CGI Compositing. So this 2 days of classes, what it's going to give you is like eye opening for how the industry functions first. Okay, and if for example anyone who studies in VFX, ask them what you want to become, people will say I want to become a VFX supervisor. So what it takes to become a VFX supervisor, forget about your software tools and stuff. Your mindset, your experience matters to become a VFX supervisor. But to even make a VFX supervisor, what really matters, what it is required in terms of direction, talking with the director, how you require it to put it across to the team and manage it. So we'll be discussing upon that. So yeah, as he has mentioned, I am Sai Krishnan, and I worked in projects and in domestic like Bahubali, to be named 1 and 2, and Robo 2.0, which is pretty much everyone knows about it. But there are a lot of domestic projects I have worked upon, and I work as a lead compositor in DNEG at present. So all the shows he has already mentioned it. I no need to keep on going and mentioning those. So yeah, this is about me in general. As you mentioned, I did my education back in UK at University of Kent. My work experiences varies from 2013 to now, and in Firefly Creative Studio is what I started major of my career. Thanks to bring up saying I work in Prasad also, but it was like an it's a good experience. But I just been there for 3 to 4 months, so I didn't put it in my here. But yeah, that's why I started as a BG prep artist. But most of my life were in Firefly Creative Studio back at Hyderabad, and I moved on to being an on-set supervisor for a particular project in Axel Media, and I was a lead compositor at Bot VFX Chennai and lead compositor at DNET now. And these are the credits. As he mentioned, there are a lot of projects I've worked on. I'm really happy to share with you the knowledge what I gained on. So Let me move on. So yes, so this is where I'm going to start my classes with. So first thing, you all, start off your career. It could be any VFX studio you might go on from now on after you finish the course. But always, from my personal experience, cultivate the friendship. Um, it's really matters because when you cultivate the friendship, you might have a different interest, whereas your friend will have a different interest in the same industry. And it's really important to have a cross share knowledge. The reason is I'm being a compositor and one of my friend is a light artist, right? So what happens is I used to talk to him and say, like, hey man, there is something like this. Why don't you do it, test and show me the result? I'll do something in comp because I have something to explore it. And what happens, being having that kind of a friendship with your friends, you will start to share your knowledge from your department to another department, and he will teach you something else. And what happens, it keeps you motivated very high. The reason I put it is because this is also very important for you to grow much more faster pace. For example, this is what when we are studying in back in UK, and this is where I have my friends back in India visiting me in Chennai. Almost we are the same team, and there are a lot of people who were there, but I don't have it in the photo. But if I generally see this guy is more like a game developer, and this guy is purely into virtual reality and developing in terms of for medical. So what happens here is every day when you used to chat in a month's time, like to have a touch up when we have general call, we share about each and everyone's experience, what's happening in the film industry. I'll be talking about. He'll talk about what's happening in the game industry, and he'll tell like what art is required for the game. Then I say like, oh wow, that's something you guys are doing, and we want something like this in the VFX. And you know what? Trust me, there are a lot of technologies that came from the gaming to the VFX. So when you have someone like that, you can actually touch up and say like what it is required for you to move forward. So always cultivate the friendship between yourself. It could be a lighter, it could be an animator artist, it could be someone who is doing a modeling, but it will help you to understand how the shot starts, how the shot ends. So always cultivate the friendship. Start from your college. Your buddies will be someone going top somewhere. It required. So being good friendship always matters. Yeah. So as I discussed, friends keeps you motivated. So please cultivate the friends. Friendship also helps in knowledge share, teamwork, discussion, and brainstorming. This is something very important. As we move forward in the VFX, we don't want to have a dumb guy sitting there and asking like, when there is in-depth of discussion happens, how to make the shot sellable. We use a term called sellable or convincing or creative. How to make it work. So it could be a rubbish of idea, but out of 1,000 ideas, one idea will click. But it's always important to share what's in your brain. Just tell, hey, this is what I feel when I discuss about the shot. This is what I feel might work. This is what I feel it's work. It's okay, but it needs required you to open up and talk to your fellow beings when you work or when you're working with your in your what do you call co-projects among your friends right now in your college. It's always good to share and don't stop that when you go to the studios, because I've seen a lot of people who in the interview they say like, you know what, I have done my team, we used to do a lot of teamwork, blah blah blah. In the interview they say, and we say when you put it on the execution wise on the day one, we can understand after a month, yes, we wanted you to speak out what's there in your mind for the shot. Then even after 2 months, 3 months, people generally don't share because they feel insecure, like what if I ask something if I don't know, what if I know what I tell the idea is something a crap. So nothing of such. VFX is one of the industry where people will listen even to the least who is joining. The reason is even if you have one month experience, we'll listen to it. The reason at the ultimate we are doing this project or this shot for the audience. Correct. It's just from the audience point of view. Someone says what you're doing is a mistake. I didn't feel this suits in. It matters to the artist. It matters to the supervisor because we are presenting to the audience. So you are a good judgment. So please be open ears to whoever comes and tells you the feedback as you grow up. That's also very next thing is very important. Now, when I talk about you have to raise the question, give your feedback. Same way when you go up in the level of whatever you are in supervising level or the lead level, when someone from 1 month here guy and says like, hey, this is wrong. I feel, Sai, the approach is wrong. I have a better idea. Please listen to it. The reasons I have a tendency, and even the lot of leads, even I work with a lot of cross-site supervisors, they have amazing patience and amazing skill to listen to you. They will listen what you have as a solution, and they'll really say, yes, it works, or they say it will not work for this because of this reason. But it will open up a conversation. It will open up their solid, I mean, what you call this sharing of what their experience it means to that. So it's always important in the industry, even if you are a first month or a first week guy, or you are 20 years old guy in the industry, please discuss, please talk, please be patient to listen to your team. And of course, it's a team game. So we require all the team to be more vibrant. Yeah. So So as we discussed in general, the reason why I want to narrate from myself is because that's why I thought, I have been like you guys one among, like a student. Then I started my career. Then it was a rough patch, the earliest struggle. Then I moved to the next position. So how it happened to me? The reason is I have learned a lot of steps. So if I'm going to share that with you guys, it's going to help you guys really in a quick time that to, not to do the mistakes what I have committed. So early days of struggle, yes, as in any industry, VFX is like like a nowhere excuse. Uh, we have to struggle a lot in the early days of VFX. Um, Honestly speaking, the first time after spending a lot of dollars, or I mean the pounds you spend in UK, came back here. I joined in this of VFX, and the first month salary what I got was 5,000. Honestly saying, it was 5,000. And people at the home, they were like, what, you've been studying there and it's like more course, and you're getting 5,000. And when I did my BSc, I got an offer from L&T. It was like around 20,000, and it's like, you got a job there for 20 and you're working here for 5,000. This is something, it's not supposed to be taken, but the passion matters. So I started off with 5,000. Yes, it was paining, but it's good to start. I was having no work after coming from UK. So I was sitting in the system, working, self-developing the knowledge, looking at the tutorials, do it. And that's why I landed in Prasad. And what happened is payless, but I got to learn more. First thing, how the shot comes inside the industry, how the shot goes out of the from the studio. This is very much important. I have learned the Prasad VFX, and thanks to them. And I moved on to Firefly, and that's where my entire career started to grow much faster than what it's supposed to be. Uh, it was more sleepless nights I had in the Firefly, but it was more fruitful for me. The reason is I joined there as a roto artist, but I never done a roto there, honestly. Because the day I joined, yes, they put me in the roto project. I was doing roto. I was really bad because I want to be a compositor. But they put me in a roto saying like, this is the first step of being a compositor. I said, okay, let me do it. But I know my skill, it's not for me. I was doing it. And eventually what I saw is there was a project called Linga. I hope everyone knows about it. So what happens during the project Linga is people are trying different methods to make Rajinikanth look young. And there are traditional methods where, you get footage where you have to do the frame by frame painting on the character and run the shot out. That's one method. And there is another method. What is it? You have a camera tracked and you have your match move or a match mission for the Rajnikant's face, and they'll take it up. You do a projection in the UV, wrap the UV, and do the paint on top of it and reproject it and send the shot out. These were the two methods they were testing. It was an initial stage of testing projects. And I was seeing a couple of the artists were doing it. It was something was itching me saying like I should give a try. I was not meant for doing some other job. Something like this kind of R&D excites me. Then over the night I sat, I took the footage, I started to check what's exactly happening. Then I understood what the client requirement is. Then I went on to the Google. I checked few of the references, like for example, ads. They really do like blemishes cleanup, the wrinkles cleanup, all the double chin. Then I was checking how they even do it. Then I got a supervisor who worked on the project like in ads. I went to him, contacted the LinkedIn. I said, like, I'm like a learner. I have a project like this to do it. Can you help me out? I didn't say the project of movie, but I said I have my personal project where I need to do it. Can you help me out in guiding me how to do it? Then he guided me to one of the plugin, which is called as Beauty Box, which is still available in Nuke. If you go to Nuke, Foundry Nuke official site, there is a third-party plugins. If you click it, there'll be a lot of third-party plugin, and one of them is Beauty Box. So he said, go to that, take the Beauty Box, fiddle around, you will get the results what you want, and you won't. It will be super surprised that you won't believe the quality of output. What I got is top notch. And I tried to do that in copyrighted version, like where with a stencil on there, like a non-commercial version where I tried. And in my home, I took a separate image. I did it. I went to my supervisor and said, like, hey, see this. I have done something like this. What do you think? Then he said, okay, can we ask someone to, a technical team to install it for you, a demo version to check it. Then I took a demo version. I tested it out and I ran a footage. It went on well, and and I presented the shot to him. He was super surprised to see how much time it took for me. It took almost zero point 0.5 days, which is like half a day for me to fix the entire shot, which the compositing, the paint, they are doing for almost 2 to 3 days. If it's a frame by frame paint, imagine how much time it's going to take. It's going to take a long time. So they were actually doing that frame by frame painting or reprojection. It's going to take another lot of time because tracking has to be perfect, and then your matchmation has to be perfect, and then comes to your comp. Then you have to unwrap your UVs, then repaint it and reproject it. It's like 4 days of work, and what I did is a half day of work. And that's where they said, like, how did you make it happen? Then I explained him what exactly happened in the process and how the tool works exactly. Then they were really happy. Then they asked what is the requirement for the tool to function like it is best, because it was a long frame, but I have done for a 24 frames test. They asked me what it require for you to take it for a long, and that's where it got to say, like, I said I require of roto like this. I said in the breakdown, like, I want like this the roto. Then he was surprised. He called the roto supervisor and said, like, you know what? This guy required a roto. Can you give him a roto at this to get it done? Then it was a big surprise for me because I was supposed to be the roto person. And then he said, like, you are not supposed to do this now. Let's get the person who can do this for you. You concentrate on how to make it happen. So it shifted from roto to someone trying to execute it. Right? There will be some opportunity that will be there on the way. Someone might be struggling. Someone will be like, there will be a spark that comes to your mind. Something I can do better in this. If you feel something like that, take that as an opportunity, because as you prove, people will start trust you. That's the project. People trusted me much, and they gave the roto. We deliver the shot. It looks awesome. Presented. Client liked it, and there were a lot of studios competing for that quality in the timeline. And we deliver the project of 90 minutes of de-aging on Rajinikanth's face, and that remains one of the best quality that we have delivered in the industry so far, in the Tamil industry. And that's how it started. The reason is the breakthrough. The breakthrough will come, but breakthrough, you need to find like the chance that it required for you. If you find that's a right opportunity, get it there. There is no harm in failing. I have seen a lot of people, the seniors generally, they feel very comfortable in doing the work what they know. And when you ask why don't you try this, it may not work, it might work, and they feel really bad about trying something new because it's something to take them so hard, saying like, oh, I am a 15 years of experience artist. If I do this, if I don't succeed, what happens? People will think bad. I'm not qualified for this. But it's nothing like that in VFX, right? 4 years back, the structure of Unreal is not the same. Now Unreal becomes a major thing. So 4 years back, who I say like Unreal is not going to be a major thing. Now they are saying, oh, Unreal is a major thing. Where is the Unreal artist? Let's get it. So it's not like, we should never try. Please try, open up for any plugins, any tutorials. Just give a hand, because this is the only industry where every year there is a change happening. Every year there is a nuke update is happening. Every year the nuke itself is getting updated in different techniques. For example, even if you go to shuffle node, I don't know how many of you seen. Shuffle has been used for a long time, and there is a change of a shuffle node structure itself. Why they do it? Because they feel this is more comfortable to the artist, or this may not be comfortable, but they are ready for the change. They didn't keep it themselves like low profile, say like, oh, let's not touch it because artists are using it properly. No, we want to give them a better, more experience so that they can use our tool much more efficient. So always have a thirst to learn very much something new for yourself, to keep yourself refreshed, right? So that's my breakthrough comes in. And yeah, Kyle is one of the project where I worked where for the projections, because over there people had a lot of struggle in terms of projection setups. Projections is literally not like car and you project a mesh with different render out images. You have to construct it like a projection object, and so you can drive through the camera. So people are struggling to do it, and this is where the experience of learning somewhere else comes in. So the where I learned in UK help came in my hand. I said like, hey, I have done something like this before in a project. Let me do the production, and that helped me. People are saying like, wow, this guy is what he joined as a roto. He's doing something. He's doing a projection, and what it gave them my understanding is like they felt like this guy is not someone what we have thought. This guy has a different skill set than the others, right? So when you are learning in your college, it's always important not to learn the tools like here. Okay, honestly saying, yes, I've been in industry. Again, we use the same you call additive keyer for the proper getting the finer details. IBK, the same tools we are using and you'll be using. So what makes the difference? Nothing. But what makes the difference is how you see the shot makes a difference. Correct. So start seeing it in a different perspective, how to make it sellable. Again, that's the point that I come through. So people started seeing like some things there's a potential apart from the regular job. That's why they started investing myself on something like an R&D. They gave a project, they throw complicated stuff to me and say like, hey, there is something like this. Can you try it? Something like this. Can you try it? So what happened? I have nothing to worry about failing, because if I fail, I don't have anything to hide because I'm fresher. I failed, fine, but I gained a lot, because the industry experienced person, they are afraid of testing. I'm not afraid of testing because they are afraid of failure. I'm not afraid of failure. So that's one point you need to remember always. Don't have a fear factor. It's okay to fail, but you learn. Just keep this in your mind always. So that's where I promoted what, sorry, come again, like yeah, that's why the compositing helping on projection setups helps me people to see me something different, and facial de-aging in linga. And I have also been promoted for on-set supervisor, like assistant supervisor to my supervisor, just to check how the skin texture works. Is there anything reference I need to take on the location? So it all started there, and the crew was really happy with how I work. Then one of the day where my VFX supervisor were not there and I was supposed to go. When I went, there was another VFX shot that's happening the parallelly. And they were asking me suggestion, hey, can we put like this? Can we do like this? Whether it works in VFX. Then I took the decision straight away. Yeah, it works. It will not work. But understand, there are a lot of people out there in the studio. Just with your decision, they're going to work. So when you take a decision, you always make sure that you take it wise. It's okay if it takes 15-20 minutes lag in terms of the shooting process, but make sure you do that right. And so your working progress will be less. For example, putting a track marker there in the screen will sort of the issue like this. But if you feel, oh, if I hesitate to tell, oh, put a track marker there, oh, is this guy, that guy, I should not keep my mouth shut. The tracking guy is going to spend a lot of days saying like the track is not fitting for me, the parallax is not coming, I don't know where the projection plane is. So a lot of stuff will happen because of one mistake you commit on the location. So that experience I have gained it here, where even though I was new, I was able to handle KS Ravikumar saying like, no, sir, it was no, I want to be like this so that, it's easy for us to track this, do this. Then that built him a confidence and said like, okay, let's do this. So that's another breakthrough. People started to trust me, and director, that I was able to, at least even to speak to the director and say what I required, even though I'm not giving like how to shoot the big stuff, but I was able to tell what is required in a basic level. So which is very important to start your communication. Yeah. And the last breakthrough which I got was the stereo compositing pipeline for 2.0. And this was like super successful in terms of Indian project. Srinivas Mohan sir, who I owe him a lot in the industry. He is the one who got me in the industry in domestic. So when we are testing it, I was the one who derived the pipeline for the 2.0 compositing pipeline, how the COM structure has to be. It's not just for the Firefly, it's just for Firefly in general in terms of a client. Srinivas Mohan is from the client side. So whatever I proposed to him, he liked it. He pitched into whichever studios in domestic like Prasad and others. He pitched in and said like, this is the pipeline required for compositing. So that's another breakthrough which I got it. So always get your stuff learned. Keep learning, you will get a breakthrough very easily. If you're stuck in there, you will not see it because opportunity will be, you'll be able to see. But if you're not aware of what you have to do in that opportunity, you cannot utilize it much better. So please start learning, start. It's okay to fail. As I say, it's okay to fail. Yeah. Then comes the big Bahubali. So once all the stuffs have happened, the Bahubali was there on the floor like a previous Bahubali Part 1. And we are supposed to go for Bahubali, on location shoot. And we have a footages now on the hand. And they want someone of a sequence supervisor to handle it. And there were a lot of seniors on the team to run the show very easily. There were a lot of seniors on the show. And I'm thankful to my supervisor, Sanat, who was in Firefly. He said to me, like, I want you to handle a sequence. It's a simple sequence, try to handle it. It has only 15-20 shots. Can you handle it? It all started with 15-20 shots, and eventually I ended up handling 100 shots in the entire movie, which is something I never dreamt of that could happen to me. And I was not sure what the sequence supervisor will be doing. I was not sure how the team will respond to me because I have not delivered like a full comp file. I was always like someone who gives a solution, understand the visuals, and fix a look for the frame and give to the artist, and artist will take it forward. Now, this one, like completely, I was thinking how I need to convey to the artist, and I need to run a team, and this is something going to be more crazy on me. But it went eventually smooth with the support of the team and with the other supervisors, because lighting they have a supervisor, com they have a supervisor, everyone to take someone like me as a sequence supervisor to collaborate over that time around when I was 24 years. They were able to talk to me so politely and say like, hey Sai, this is what you expected, right? So this is what it is. What else you want me to do? So it was very nice. But again, this again a big breakthrough where I handled 5 sequence and over 100 shots. And this is coming up as a case study tomorrow. And I'll be presenting you guys how I deliver the Bahubali. So which you can, I'll be sharing this insights tomorrow. Yeah. So let's come back to the VFX in terms of the process in VFX. So as in general, and I don't know how many of you have aware of the. I'm very sure pre-production, production, post-production is very much people will know it, but what comes under what, and how the studio functions. So there are a lot of stuff to happen, and trust me, I have not learned this back in UK. I know pre-production, post-production. I mean post-production, but I have never know what are the stuff that comes in. Oh, there is something called as previous. I was never aware of it, but after coming here, I was aware. So I want to give an insight of what's happening in the VFX so that you guys will be so clear, because a lot of departments are open, lot of departments out there. I don't want you guys to stick with comp or lighting or modeler. There are a hell lot of the departments. You can pick it because everyone cannot be filling in one shoe. You might have your own shoe. So I'm just putting it out there for you guys to say it. Take it from there, what you guys want to become. So yeah, pre-production. So in terms of pre-production, we all know how the pre-production starts is with a script. So we receive the script for the VFX. In this VFX supervisor will receive the script, and it will be very confidential with the people who he trusts with, and we have a place where we can read it, and we read the script. And as a previous supervisor, this is where the previous supervisor comes in, and the VFX supervisor will start breaking down the script into the act. So what we say is that, okay, this is what it is. Let's break down the chart. So what is the element required for the previous? What is element required for the script? Basically, they're expecting a crowd. Yes, we require a CG crowd here. Oh yeah, we require, for this example, if it's a scene where it's animal, oh, we require an animal. So we need to do a previous, what kind of a lens might suit and what kind of, for the environment, and what is the look and feel of it. So we need to do a lot of study based upon the script. Okay. And the best thing what we have done is, you can see it in online interview where Rajamouli would have said himself, like uh, we have when during the pre-production of Bahubali, people asked him a questions like what Bahubali eats, where Bahubali generally be there in general, and what is his favorite sport. So what happens? This was like more like, if people might think like it was not relevant questions, but what happens? There was questions good like this, and when director was breaking down it, it was very easy for us to see how Bahubali himself like a person. Okay, he like these kind of a sports. He's wild guy or he's a calm guy. So this will help us to understand more in terms of the script. You need to read the script, but there are a lot of stuff that goes behind the character design. So when you know what he eats, what kind of sports he plays, what he generally communicates, who we with, that defines the character. So that is more important. So script is not just about locations and what we do, it's also about character definitions. Yes, this character is defined like this, so break down. And then we have a storyboard. So once you have done with the script what is required, people go for a storyboarding, conveying the scene, whether it is conveyed properly, what is it, framing it, checking storyboard, people generally know it. And concept art, this is where the people start to do it, like concept art, where you might refine a scene. For example, to take that, um, okay, there is a teacher coming inside the classroom. Okay, and it's like let's take the scene like somewhere like Soul or movie like full 3D movie. I'm talking about. So how the feel of the look should be. Now the question starts: what is the age of the teacher? Okay, so now what kind of a dress she wears? So all this comes in terms of the script breakdown, in terms of storyboarding, and that's where the concept comes. Like, okay, this is the mood board now. So the classroom should be somewhere like this, like modernized. What is it? The concept based upon the story. You design it, and what could be the theme for the color palette? You design the color palette, and so that you know what kind of a dress could fit in there. What is the mood can fit in there. So concept is not just about scribbling it; it's also about how good the visual can be before even going for the shoots. So that's what people do in terms of concept art. And previous, it's nothing but an animatics, where it is very important when you're dealing with the CGI shoots. Puli Murugan was one of the study where, or even Bahubali was one of the study where we have a lot of CG to make. So I'll be showing tomorrow again how we choreograph some of the sequence. But on previous, we have to be very careful on terms of camera blocking, which is very important, and we need to separate it like an act wise. So what is an act? So I'll just quickly, I don't get an annotation tool here. Or I will find annotation tool later, but yeah. Is there any idea, guys, know how, where is annotation to be made here? Okay, cool. So where are we actually? Sorry, Chandan.
Pre-production you were
Act
talking about.
Yeah.
at the
Okay.
end.
Okay. Cool. Previous.
The act.
Right. So in search of tool, I lost the concept. So yeah. So what is more important for us in terms of previous is blocking, camera blocking. We need to know about absolutely you need to know about what kind of a lens the people are going to shoot. ARRI, how the aspect ratio is going to work, or if it's red, what is the aspect ratio they're going to shoot. Lensing, what kind of a lensing will suit inside the characters. That has to be pinpoint. You need to be very sure. You have to work closely with the DOP, and so that this is going to be a bible for you when on-set supervision is going to be there. I need to tell them, hey, this is what the shot we have done, and it's going to be something like this, and the pillar is going to be coming here in here, which is properly designed. It's like 5 feet high. So if you put it, it will block. So we want it to be moved little left, right. All those things you have to decide based upon the previous. So previous is more or less like 70% of your Bible. So yeah, and scouting. Scouting is nothing but going to on location, taking the references. For Pulimurgan, we went on a recce where the forest they're going to shoot. So we need to understand how the forest environment is, what kind of a terrain it is, like whether it has a lot of tree stuff or the down or what is it. And we also want to check what type of a tiger they're going to use it live, what is the reference they have it. So case study the tiger, what exactly it does. So it's very important to do the scouting. It happens in all the VFX movies. Go for the recce, check for the scouting, all the locations. The if it's a character involved, what is the characters, or if it's a costume they're going to wear, we need to check the costumes, what they are going to do, because it could be extension of the costumes. Where if there is the wings there and there is a something popping up, you need to make sure that costume designer keeps the two stands there so that it doesn't on the day of shoot. It's not something you need to tell the, hey, we need to do this now. We cannot shoot this. So always go prepare, and we need to do the scouting right. So it all happens, and then a production. So in terms of production, generally we have on-set supervision, and on-set supervisor or supervision is basically it's all about the plan the shots on the day. Even though you do your previous right, your shot breakdowns right, due to the technicalities, for example, crane may not go in like that, or the chimney may not go like that. So there'll be a lot of technicalities which will challenge as a suit supervisor, but you still need to execute the shot. So you need to make a stitch shot, or what is it? You need to sit with the director or sit with the DOP, or if it's a stunt sequence, you need to convince us, your stunt master, saying what he requires, and convince him and say, hey, yeah, I got your point. This is what it is complex. Can you put like this in VFX so we can solve it? Or, oh, if you want this, then we need something like this as a framing. We cannot go in this framing. So you need to convince the director, entire crew basically, and take a decision and shoot the plans. And that's how you on-set supervision once. And you have a shoot the plates. Plates are nothing but your clean plates, element plates, whatever it is, which I'll be showing at the last when we are discussing on how to be an on-set supervision role. What is it going to take like? And motion capture. This is generally in India. It's not that great. But yeah, moving forward in Hollywood, yes, motion capture plays a very important role. There are a lot of tutorials available online. I did a project for motion capture, but it was not that successful. I'm still trying to learn a lot in terms of motion capture. Yeah. So yeah. So and data wranglers. So there's a two questions in terms of shoot. One is on-site supervision, and then there has a data wrangler. So data wrangler is mostly is like more like collecting the camera reports, how to collect the reports, what are the information should be there in the camera reports. I'll be telling you guys, and measurements, which is very important. For example, if the camera is traveling across a distance, it's very important to know what is the start point, how much it traveled, so that we can give that information to the tracking guys. It's easy for them to judge that depth, whether they can find in Maya, whether the camera travels in exact distance, what is it, and or it could be from down to up, the crane movement. You need to know your origin point, if it's like 0 0, or if it's from the ground level, it is 2 feet high, and as it goes, it's like 7 feet. That is the distance you need to measure and tell to them, saying, hey, you know what, this starts from 3 feet high and it goes to 7 feet. So in between is the short travel. So it's very important for the camera trackers to know it, because layout is going to be absolutely in the 0 0 world where ground is 0 0. Your measurement of 3 feet is going to be the actual Maya camera 3 feet. It's a real world replica of the stuff. So your measurements have to be precise. And HDRA and Chrome balls and SCED scan data. So SCED scan is available in India. LIDARs. Makuta is very successful in doing it, one of the studio. And even if it's not, it's okay to shoot more as much as panorama as possible, so that photogrammetry can be delivered and we can create the sets. Yep. So next comes the post-production process in VFX. Generally, it's all about plate analyze. Plate analyze nothing but getting the edit, whether repo is matching portrait. Sometimes what happens is like repo shot will be like for 350 frames, and they were ramped to 25 frames. Now, when you receive the clip, you will receive for 200 frames. But it's very important to understand whether are we going to work for 200 frames and then ramp it, or It's easy to ramp it first and then work on the shots. So generally how the pipeline works is camera track will happen in the full range, 200 frames. And roto, paint, everything happens in the smaller range, which is 25 frames. For example, 200 shot to 25, people will work on 25 frames. Only the camera department will work on the extended ranges, right? And the comp will work on the 25 frames. So that makes the things easy, because when you ramp it fast, camera will not able to track it as fast as the software controls will not work. So that's how the production goes. So you need to understand how the plate reacts, what is required in the plate, and task breakdown and schedule. Generally, this is where the VFX supervisor or the sequence supervisor comes in the picture with the other department supervisors. He will break the task down and say like, hey, this task for this shot we have roto, paint, comp. That's it. Oh, for this shot we have animation, we have CG renders, we have and comp. So we need to break the task, and you need to schedule it properly, saying how much the bandwidth for the shot can go in comp, how much the bandwidth can go in lighting. So it all comes from the supervisor. Artist level, no way. And execution. Execution is somewhere after you do the schedule, breakdown, everything, it's planned. Supervisor have to, talk with the leads and the team, describe what is the show is all about, what is the time frame, tell them lighting, we start like this day and we're going to end up this day. This is the execution plan, or we're going to deliver this sequence to compound these days. This is what we have, our in between milestone, we need to achieve this. So it all comes in the execution process. And then we have a kickoff and dailies in everyday process, and we have a client presentation feedbacks on every milestones, and we have a final delivery to DA and edit. So this is like a general process. Now let's know the department. So in between of this, from here on, it's going to be more intense. So if you have any doubt, even before this, if we can clarify it. And from now on, it's more like VFX topics. So this is like a prelude for you guys. Anything to be asked, you can put it in chat box, or I can continue. Anyone, anything? Guys, doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. Let me continue. If you have anything, just put in the chat box. I have my chat messenger on, so I can see it. I can stop and respond to that. So when you talk about the industry, there are a lot of hierarchy in the industry, and these are the general stuff. So it starts with the client director, then we have a client supervisor, and then we have a studio supervisor. And in the studio supervisor, we are talking about under the studio supervisor, we have a CG supervisor, we have a VFX producer, and we have a comp supervisor. So these three will be mostly directly contacting point is VFX supervisor, right? So what happens to CG supervisor? He is responsible for the 3D development and approach. It starts from modeling, texturing, shading, lighting, everything. He's going to be in charge. It's not necessary that you should know all the department. It is necessary that he is the person who can go to person at least in 2 departments. For example, he should be a kick-ass in lighting. And if you are kick-ass in lighting, you'll know about how your textures has to come, how your the model, what can be done in model, what can be done in texture. That has to come in, because these 2 departments will always say, hey, we can do it this, because if we give a bump, it will work in texture. It not be the case. It has to go back to model and sculpt it. So CG supervisor has to know at least 2 of the department very, very at ease, so that he can get the works done. And yeah, so under the CG supervisor, we have environment supervisor. He'll be the person who will be taking care of the environment, what sort of a land, for example, take Jungle Book. There will be environment supervisor for sure, because he'll be the person deriving what sort of environment, how it has to be. He'll be designing it, even a tiny rock to the sand to the biggest rock and the cliff. It has to be precisely done with terms of a scale. So it's very important. So environment will be taking care of the environment supervisor. Crowd is another stuff. It defines upon what sort of a crowd layers that you require, LD, 100, 200, 300. So you need to define what kind of actions they'll be having. This all generally gets from the VFX supervisor. He'll be talking about the sequence and say, hey, you know what, we have a crowd in this, and probably we'll see it as a far. So it's not that mesh we require. Let's be low poly, but it should not be compromised in terms of texture, so that it doesn't look like low poly model. So that's something we need to care about. And we have a CFX artist. So CFX is nothing but cloth fur. So if you're talking about what's the best example? Yeah, for example, Tintin. It's a full CG characters, but if you see the cloth of the coat, it will flutter in the air. So those are the full CG shots, but you still see the cloth is having animation. And if you see apes, you have a fur animation. Fur plays a very important role to get the realism. So we have a separate team called CFX, which will be under CG supervisor control, but uh, this will have their own supervisor, CFX supervisor, because it's a department which is crazy. And we have a lighting. Again, it comes under CG supervisor, and we have animation and effects. Even though all this has their individual supervisors, they all report to CG supervisor. So CG supervisor will work with all this department supervisor to get the work done on CG. And then we have a VFX producer. So basically, VFX producers is basically for terms of bidding and scheduling. He or she is the person who will talk to the client with the VFX supervisor and say, hey, this is the budget, this is the bidding, this is the schedule for us, this could be done. So he'll be monitoring all these guys. He'll be going to the VFX supervisor like, hey, this is not working, it's taking more longer than what we are expecting. We are crossing the budgeting. Can you cross-check with the CG supervisor whether it is required or composite supervisor required? So he is the person who will be taking care of how the show runs basically. And there is a under him under him or her there are a lot of people who will be working on artist manager, line producer, and project monitor. It depends upon the companies, and companies their roles is a little bit different. And we have a compositing supervisor, and compositing supervisor is responsible for the final delivery and the function across the departments. So the departments comes under him is like a DMP in general. Most of the companies have the DMP supervisor, but they will relate with the composite supervisor. They will be having a close up with the compositing supervisor. The reason is there will be a lot of projections to be done. So compositing supervisor will tell them how they require the layers. So DMP comes under him, MGFX comes under him, Roto, Paint, and of course compositing comes under him. So compositing supervisor basically will do the quality check on following departments when it comes inside. There are okay. Saivya Shaha from VFX Pune. There are two different storyboards for director and makers and VFX studios. Generally, yes. From the director's point of view, he would present you the basic storyboards from their idea what they have it, but it's always VFX studio will take it forward because some things are practically will not be possible to execute in terms of budget and everything. So they have to come up with a plan, say like, you know what, you are doing and something like this, but we are seeing a scope which is beyond this. So come up with a better solutions. So both way the storyboard works. And finally, most of the times, studio storyboard is what functions better because at the end of the project, we are the one who is going to execute it in terms of previous. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, so let's talk about the departments in terms of creative. So as earlier, storyboard comes under pre-production, layout comes under pre-production, concept, yes, concept also comes under pre-production, previs comes under pre-production, and editorial comes under pre-production. Now, this is generally like taken in a loan from here. For example, your layout artist will not be someone different. He'll be someone from the modeling and texturing department will be pitching here and doing a layout, right? And the concept artist is, as we see in a pre-production, it's a separate artist. Storyboard is a separate artist, but layout is something which they'll get a loan from the production, which is model texture. They'll work here and they'll jump out of the project from the pre-production. And editorial is important because that's where you do the cuts and show them as a sequence. So editorial comes in the pre-production. And in production, most of the scenario, this in most of the studio will come in post-production or depends on the project, it come in production. The reason is, for example, when I went for Panamagan, we started the production of model, texture, rig, cloth, and fur in the production stage, which means when the shoot was happening parallelly, we were doing this in here. We got the reference of the tiger, what they require. So it's easy for us to model. It's easy for us to do the texture, rig, and do the basic test with the cloth and fur because it takes almost 1 or 2 months to get it settled. By the time the shoot is getting wrapped up of the sequence or 2-3 sequence together, it's easy for you to see, close this one off so that it's easy for us also to present to the director. director in even before going for the post production. Get them logged, let them know, dude, this is what you're looking at in terms of output. So you plan your shoots based upon this. So it's very important to work parallelly with the director and get your stuff out. So that's where the production here is the department. So modeling, texture, rig, cloth and fur is a different production, and we have post production where editorial comes in post production to check the edit rams and stuff, and we have match move, matchmation, layout, animation, look development, FX, light, environment, roto, paint, and compositing. I hope just by the name, you guys will be aware of what other departments are available here. But most of the times when I see the people in the interview, um, when I had a chance to recruit people in companies in domestic, when we ask what you want to become, people will say, hey, I want to be a comp artist, or they will say I'm fresher, so put me in paint or roto. Okay, and people will say I want to become a lighter. Yes, some will say like I want to become a model artist, but none of them touch the texture, rig, cloth, fur, FX. None of them. None of them. To be honest, there are very handpicky. Out of 100, you will see 2 people applying for a different approach. So it's always important for you guys, check where your interests are, right? It cannot be compositing always. You might be very good in terms of FX. FX requires a lot of knowledge on skills in coding, understanding your Python as well, or C++ script, where a simple random expression will give a good output in terms of FX. So if you are good in terms of knowledge of analytical knowledge, it's good to try the FX, right? Whereas for look development is someone who has to take care of texture, model, and the lighting. That's where it comes under the look development. So look development is basically fixing the look for the sequence. This you may not join immediately. This you might need to go to the process of lighting artist. Then you come to the look development, basically. And then we have your animation. Yes, you can start as a fresher in terms of animation, and you can start as a match move as a fresher. Layout artist, yes, as a fresher. Look development, you cannot start as a fresher. FX, you can start as a fresher. Lighting, you can start as a fresher. Environment and DMP, yes, you can. Roto, paint, compositing, obviously. So only department which you cannot start as a fresher is look development. So try to, if you want to be a look development artist who is very much, I need to fix a single frame or a sequence where I create a Bible and that's it for the sequence. Then I move to the next sequence. I create a look and I'll give it to them. Then I move to the next sequence. If you're someone has that aesthetics looks on the visuals, go for the lighting. If you're someone who's so knowledge in terms of technicality, analytical, skill problem, math solving problems, go for the FX. That's all I would tell you. Whatever passion is for you, go for it. But these are the departments over it. Yeah. So in this of process and the departments, any questions for you guys?
Guys, please ask question. Any doubts is there? Either you can speak or you can write it in the chat box.
Yeah, I would say it could be very simple question, but please ask, because the reason is, in this year or next year or after this, you're going to go for the industry, correct? And this is what you're going to face onto the day-to-day process, and you'll not able to have a time to figure it out. So it's better to start questioning here. As I said, question is more important. So ask question if it's a simple thing, please.
Yeah, true. Guys, any doubt, even if it is a silly or simple question, please ask.
So I assume no doubt. So let's go dig deeper. Now, this is where no one tells you. This is where I learned from the supervisors where I worked. Let's dig deeper. What is important to be an artist? What is important to be a supervisor? What skills you require? The process, how you start it off matters. The process, the word is something so common, and someone uses it. I hope you know the person. Can anyone guess it? The word process. If you follow IPL, if you follow some Indian cricketer, he names the process very, often. Okay. Cool. It is Dhoni. Just a lighter note. Yeah, the process is very important in terms of anywhere you go, any work you do. Um, uh, what you put is matter than the result. You put yourself 100% dedicated to that. To put yourself learn that. Give you 100% there. And if you still failed a bit, it's okay because you put your 100%. You will eventually get it. But put your process right. So in the industry, we have something called as process. So when we have a script in the process of VFX industry, this is what I have learned to be a successful person. Uh, there is this content. We'll talk like this. We'll take the same example. A teacher enters inside a class, and students were silent, and because of what we'll decide it later. So this is the process. This is the narration of the first line. What is important is as a supervisor, if you're becoming, it's very important to understand the narration. Yes, there is a teacher, there is a room, the teacher is coming in. Yes, what is it? How the narration is going on. That is very important in terms of a movie because director is trying to tell a story. So what is the narrational goal? It's very important. So once you have a narration goal in it, then comes a emotional goal. What kind of an emotion that you can give? That's why I said students are shocked. That's an emotional goal. So shock, how it can be, for what purpose they are shocked. Whether teacher was supposed to be absent and so she came back, so students are shocked, or there is a change of teacher, so the students are shocked. What makes them, or for example, the teacher might be absent, so some other teacher might have come in. So is that a reason why the emotion is for the students are shocked? And emotion also goes to the teacher. So it's very important to break the script in terms of the narration, what it is required as a movie, and what is the emotion in the scene, and what is the visual in the scene. Correct? When I talk about it, yes, you have a girl coming and the teacher coming in, then you have an emotion to play. Okay, why they are shocked? You narrate the part so that that's where you start to give your expression on the animation, saying, "Oh, kids, how the shock." Yes, this. So you put the narration of the emotional content of the characters. Then you have visual, how they visually good. Okay, now the mood. Oh, lighting has to be like something like this, or it could be a warm light. The mood light can be cold, or like both of mixed. What is the visual treatment that you're going to give it to look to give the up movement for the narrative and emotional goal for the scene? So visual goal is also matters, and that's where comes the technical goal. How are you going to achieve it? Either you're going to take your Maya and put like, oh, I'm going to do this the character in Mudbox. I'm going to do this in Maya in doing this. I'll do the lighting in Katana. I'll do this in, I'm sorry, Claris. I'll get it out in Comp in Nuke. And even in that, each and every department have to go and dig how to approach it technically. So let's go in reverse now. So each and every department, even for the shoot, there is a director. He will have a narration goal. Correct? And there is an emotion, which is what actor is performing it. Correct? Visual goal is something what DOP is performing it. Technical goal is what all these three guys wanted. Technical team is there. For example, for the DOP, he have his assistant, he have his lightman, right? So everyone is actually working for the visual goal. Technical aspect, how to make the emotion works, DOP works on it, and technically this guy works on it. So in any task you take it from on location, from the direct, this four things is applicable to everyone. Director, it applies. To the VFX supervisor, it applies. To the artist also it applies. Right? So this is very important. And also for every individual department, it applies. Right? For example, if you break down in terms of a department, you take it in terms of modeling. Narrative, based upon the narrative, your model, based upon the story, you're going to define the character look. And then what are the emotions that are going to make it? Based upon that, you do the blend shapes. And based upon that, you do your clothing. For example, your textures. Everything depends upon what is the visual treatment for that. And then you have your tool sets. Technical is basically all about the tool sets. Okay, I'm going to use a mud box, whether I'm going to use or Substance Painter or Maya, whatever it is, the software comes inside this technical aspects. And what happens generally is we are stuck in this code. We tend to see only technical aspects of the shot. When you start your career, when people move forward, they always see like, oh, okay, I have this tool, I can use this to do this. Oh, I have this tool, I can use this to do this. But if you want to progress in your career, you need to start thinking about this. I need to start thinking towards this. I'm using this tool for what purpose? For visually, for this purpose, right? If I know what is the visually you wanted, your technical will keep changing. I'll do this inside Nuke. I'll take this. Achieve the visual. Now, when I am achieving the visual, I'm checking whether my emotion is correct. As an artist, I'm talking. If I'm talking about it is correct, then it automatically achieves the narrative goal. So what happens is you are starting as an artist, you are becoming a lead, you are becoming a supervisor here. Correct? So it's very important when you pick your shot, when you're doing your shots, make sure you break down what you want to do. What is the goal of the shots? Don't start pulling out, put a key here, do this, do that, nothing. Understand what it is required for the shot first. What is the visual is going to be first? What is the mood? Then you start thinking of your technical aspects. That's where you start to grow in reverse order. I came like this, but this is where most of us are stuck. If you want to go here, this is the ladder you need to climb. So once you are here, this is the zone for the director and the actor in your studio level. If you can go here, you are becoming a VFX supervisor. Any doubts on this?
No, sir.
Good. Right. Let's talk about onset work brief. Yeah, I was opening it up. So generally, from my experience, I have jotted down what all the stuff onset is required about basically. So in this, we're going to talk about the challenges and the requirement of the location, visual effects crew, and guidelines for the onset work. It's I would share this with your professors so that you know you can it's okay, you can access this. I have no problem. It's for the students, gain my knowledge, no problem. So I'll be sharing this document with you guys. um, Green screen and blue screen photography and onset data. And on onset we already talked about what are the stuff. I'll be showing the examples of what it is like. And then we have post production content, because on location we are also talking about the post, how it's going to be approached. So yeah. So challenge and requirement locations in general. In the industry of us, we'll be having one VFX supervisor, and he'll be having with one data wrangler, and there'll be a lot of stuff executed. As I said, we need to sit with the director, we need to sit with the DOP, we need to sit with the if it's a song, you need to sit with the in our industry there are songs which comes with VFX. So sit with the choreographer or sit with the stunt master, start describing, understanding, plan it, execute it. At times you need to go and talk to the actor and say like, hey, what if you're doing like this, it may not work, it will look bad. Or if he could be jumping down and the wings has to come down, so you might to say that, hey, as you jump down, make sure that your hands are like this and you bring it down so that it looks like it's coordinating along with your hand. If you jump like this, it might look awkward because your hand will be like this but your wings will be like this at the back. It will look bad. So I want you to be like holding like this as you give that feel of you are giving that, because it's going to be like this. So what happens? You are feeding the actor from your VFX point of view, from your insights, what is going to be like. So it's very important. That's the biggest challenge. You need to speak up to the director. The reason why I say speak up, because from now, if you start speak up, even a small questions, execution, as you grow higher, you need to speak to the director. You need to go and convince the VFX, your DOP, your other person, say this is works, this will not work. So as you speak more, you get more clarity. That's where the challenges that we have on location. And the requirement is basically all about preparing and gathering the data ahead of time as possible. Measure the sets, as I mentioned, gather the blueprints. Yes, when you're going for some of the set which it's developed and you're doing an extension in green screen, they have it. It's very important to get your blueprints right. There'll be art director to whom we need to sit with and tell like, hey, you have done the set. Can I get the measurement of this chair? You have a blueprint of it. Can you give that? So you need to take the blueprint and you need to get the measurements from him, proper live measurements, and get it done, cross check it. So sets, once they develop, you need to get the blueprint of the area. So they might say this to this area is 100 feet, boys, and here we having the set which is 50 feet, and this is like 10 feet, and we have the depth, and we have this character here, and we have the stage here. So once you are doing the blueprint, this is the exact blueprint that you need to replica in terms of in the 3D, the measurements, so that when you put your camera in terms of layout, it matches to it properly, right? So even if you slightly, miss any of the data, it's going to go for a toss. You cannot do it in terms of sequence run. So get a blueprint right and set your blue screen markers. Yes, there are a lot of stuff where people used to put a lot of track markers where it is not necessary. For example, if this is the oh, why I'm not getting open my oh, yeah. So it's opening. I'm opening the Photoshop. So in between. So what happens is, in general, people have placing the track markers. It could be only 50 by feet, 50 feet of the. For example, this is the green screen that you're talking about, right? And people generally, I put up the shows. People generally tend to put a track marker this close, which is not necessary. So you need to be very careful when you're doing your, where you're placing the markers, which is very important. And there are a lot of people who puts like here one marker and here one marker. What happens when the camera pans between these two? So it's very important how you break it down. It may not be necessary. And some shoots you might require a plus track marker. In some shoots you might require a square box. Just this will do the trick. Or some will have the circle and it need to have this. And so there are a lot of track markers available. So which one you need to use it, it's very important. So as a shoot supervisor, it's very important for you, keep it handy in all sort of track markers, or inform the art director well advanced, saying like, I need these kind of track marker for this sequence. Place in every 3 feet distance, I need this. In 3 feet distance, I need like this and this horizontally and vertically, so that they will put it across for you. So very important what sort of a track marker you goes and what is the backdrop. Whether you're going to be blue screen or green screen, you need to decide before the shoot. If it's a night sequence, yes, go for the blue screen, or what if it's a green land, or go for the blue screen, or you need to plan. If it's a day, oh, you can go for blue screen, because mostly the wavelength will be more and the sky will be more like blue. You can blend it off properly, you can take the information properly. So it's very important to talk with the people, or if the character is wearing a lot of blue dress, then you need to force to go with the green screen. It's very important to talk with the costumes, the director, understand what sort of a dress, what sort of things they're going to use it, so you can plan the shoots ahead, not on the day of the shoots. So very important. Construct the reference image or reference objects and transport the cards for the production. Yeah, this is what I was talking about on the blueprints, so that the production will start working on the set designs. And we have data collectors, something called as wranglers, which I was talking about, which may vary from company to company. Camera documents, I'm going to show what are the information that you should be collecting if you're going as a data wrangler. And yeah, visual effects crew. So we have a small, we should have a generally VFX team will be a small, and they'll be working on the productions and make sure the shots are the naming of the shots are correct. You need to take a reference of the light setup, whether those are all taken correct. So that's how the VFX crew functions. The document will be, if I go point by point, that it will go for a long. So I'm just sorting it out, and you'll be having this document for you to read it properly. And yeah, guideline is making sure that you need to be more professional. You cannot be relaxing. You cannot be thinking somewhere else, because there are 50-60 people on the day of location. 60 man days you're talking about, we are waiting for your decision. So you need to be more active in taking your decisions. And it's very important, you need to be more humble, more professional in terms of your word. Even though the director is more like, shouts, screams, but you should never lose your temperament. You should be more humble enough to understand what they require and make it satisfied for them. And it is very important, most of the data wranglers, that's the time they say, we need to put, it's okay. It's okay where, to communicate properly, but after the shot, or you need to be silent and indicate it as much as quite as possible when there is a shoot happening. And if you have something on your doubts to go on, please ask your supervisor before you take actions, which is very important. And this is in general terms. And we have a green screen and blue screen photography. Before we go further, do you know why we use a green screen and blue screen, not the red screen? People generally ask me when in the older studios where I take classes. So we have any idea why just blue and green, not the red? Anyone can answer it?
Yes, sir. Because your green and blue will not have the skin shadings of the color,
Mm-hmm.
and red have the very resemblance to the skin and other body parts,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Great. So that's a good answer. Actually, that's the perfect answer, in fact. But in terms of colors, right? Red has the more wavelength. But unfortunately, the software tools developed, it's all based in companies outside India, and they have fairly more like a red skins. So if you pull the red key, you will take over their skin. So they have to come up with a solution, and that's why blue and green. Why not purple, magenta? Because these are the primary colors. In these colors, green and blue has the good wavelength. So they pick the green, and the blue is the next. So that's the reason if you're taking a green, you will have a brighter luminance. If you're talking about the, I guess people will be knowing luminances, what I'm talking about. So green will have big luminances, blue will have a less luminances. So that's the reason you see more grains on the blue channel than in green channel, right? And when you use a green screen, you tend to have a less grains on your in your green plate. I mean, in the plate. If you use a blue, you might have a more grains. So that's the reason blue is very much useful when you're doing on outdoor shoots. If you're doing indoor shoots, it's better to go with the green because it will have more luminances to pull the keys out better. So that's difference between blue and green when to use it. And white card for screen balancing, which is very important. This is like a tools that we used to carry. You'll have a white chart and you have a color palette, and this is very important to do, and along with your green screen. The reason is if you can take a shot like this from the actual camera, for example, ARRI or Red, whatever they're doing it, just take the shot like this in every sequence they are doing it. Give this like a template for your sequence supervisor or your team. Say like, hey, this is the colors. Now what happens? Oh, they know, okay, this is the actual whiteness. If they balance the white values to this in your scene, and if you remove the spill, you can see here your original photography, and you can see how the composited output will be. So you can see this is the white balance that you need to match to the skies and everything. This is how the spill corrects. This is how the blues is, and this is how the color of the board it should be. So this will give a very huge. It may look very simple, but this will become very handy in terms of matching colors accurate. And when you're talking about photorealism, balancing the colors, this will help us a lot. So this is for white balancing, prop colors, and spill test and focus chart. Yes. And this is that data I was talking about, onset data. I hope your college would have already given you notes on what are the stuff that you take. But this is another data that if anything missing, please feel free to check this. So you need to make sure what day you're shooting, what time you're shooting. The reason is after 2 weeks, you come back to your shoot after the shoot, and people will be like, you cannot tell, oh, what day I've shoot, because you can actually tell, oh, on the day when we shot this, there's a plate I need to take. So it becomes very tough. So it's obviously make sure that you mention your date and the time, and your location is very important. For example, if you're shooting in Rajmouli Film City, mention that Rajmouli Film City and mention what set. For example, it could be Bahubali set set of Katapa. Put Katapa. So we'll know what it is like. In case of weather, you can mention sunny, whatever it is, or you can say interior shoot, exterior shoot under this, or if you have a reference, if it's a patch-up shoot, you need to mention on which sequence it is matching up for the patch-up. So that's easy for us to refer back the conditions. And the slate number, VFX slate, generally it is important, but in domestic, we go with the actual clip numbers. And camera, very important, what camera you're using and what is the lens you're using, what is the serial number of lens. We may not get it, but still, if you can get it, it'd be great. And DOP has aspect ratios, what they are shooting, open gate, close gate, make sure what you are doing it. And if you are using any filter, please do it, because as a guys, you know, having a filter on front of the camera, it changes the entire look of the entire change. So we should be knowing what sort of filter you're using for the output to come in, so it becomes easy for us to match. And if they're using any other stocks, mention it, and what stops they are shooting, what is the focus range they're using. For example, it could change from 10 to 35. That's the focus. Please mention it. Camera height, as I was discussing, if it's going from 5 feet to 10 feet or 12 feet to 43, please mention it. And tilt, make sure that if we have there is a equipment for tilt reading, which you can see what how much tilt is happening. So we can please make note of the camera tilt. And shutter, shutter, or if it goes, how the motion blur works. So it's very important to get the shutter angles right. And if you have any notes by the individual supervisor or the data wrangler, if you're collecting, please make sure that you put your notes. Notes is very simple. Green screen replacement on with war background, war one background, and it's very important. Just put what kind of a location that you are expecting it, so it's very easy for supervisor or the team to track it down. And you can put a short description. It's very simple. Jack gets into his car and drives away. So it's very simple short description. So this is what the general data of your camera report will be consist of. And this is, if you can draw a chart, something like this is saying like what is the distance it carries, how the field of view, height, tilt, everything like this as a chart in a drawing. It's very easy. And trust me, when you're going as a data wrangler or stuff, you will have a good time for every shot. If I take a shot, and if you get your camera data from this shot to next shot, it will take at least 10 minutes to set up the next shot from the DOP side. So you can note down all this data very easily. So, but missing of the 10 minutes of work, as I mentioned, will go for 3-4 days. So always make sure that, when you are going as a data wrangler, it's very important to get these data right. When you have a passion for shoot supervising, I'm talking about. And camera report, as we discussed. And lens distortions. Lens distortions, another key vital information that is required. Every camera performs a different lens distortion. Every lens has its own distortion values to give. So as a sequence goes, it's very important to collect, have a grid like this every day at the end of the shoot. What I generally do is every day at the end of the shoot, what are the lenses we used for the day, I'll be having the reports, right? So I'll be noting down, oh, I use 16 mm, I have a 16 mm, 24 mm, 24 mm, 50, yes. Take those stuff and say that to the DOP, saying, hey, you use 16 mm, 24 mm, this one. And then you keep this chart and ask them like, hey, I need to shoot lens distortion for these plates. So what happens is, it will give the proper lens distortion data for you, which will be helpful on the particular sequence, right? It may not, because the lens, what you're using today, you are not 100% guaranteed that you'll get the same lens tomorrow. So it's very important to, to take the lens data as then and there as on the day as possible, jot it down and keep it ready. And this is another track marker I was talking about. I'm so generally I use these kind of track markers. So it has a lot of track points inside it to track in each and every individual corners. So I generally use this than the normal plus. For the close-up shots or mid shots, I generally use this than the normal plus. And yeah, HDRI chrome balls is another important task that you need to pick it up. So As you're seeing, this helps us to understand the light. This is a white ball, not the, this is the chrome ball. So what happens is this will help us to understand the light direction, and it can use this for like a panorama images. If you can shoot a panorama, well and good. There are a lot of cameras that comes in with a motorized head. If you can, most of the studios has a motorized head. So if you can have the motorized head rotation, take a panorama, beautiful. If not, at least take the chrome ball like this, each and every individual shots, take the shoots done, so that it's the lighters know that how the set looks like, what are the lights they casted, and they can plan their shots accordingly. And this is like a white ball where you can talk about the blacks values, the peaks, how the white will be, how the diffusion will be. So it's very important for the lighters, for the developers, and also for the compos to set the shots right. Trust me, there are a few projects where I worked where for every shot there'll be a white balance like this, and there'll be a chrome ball like this. So as a compo, I know, yeah, there's a light comes in, so it's better. So I know what sort of light comes in, what sort of diffuse I have it in the shots when you're putting the CG characters inside it. So please, if you're on location or we are going for a VFX supervisor, have these in your mind. This is all the stuff you need to prepare for. And lighting data, as I mentioned, yes, this is another gray ball. It's for the reference. You can see how it works on. And clean plate, as we mentioned, clean plate is day-to-day process is very important. If you know it's a VFX shot, for example, in Puli Murugan, we had a tiger that has to go. The character will be running in the forest, and we just put the camera behind the character. Is running, and tiger is in front of him, so character will be running, camera will be running behind him. And it's very easy to say like, oh, let's not do it because tiger is going to be in the front, so there's no need of clean plate. But it is very important at least to take at least a static frame of clean plate, because once you remove the character, you need to paint it out. Or if you put a tiger here, it may ask you to face it here, then you might need to paint it out. So it's better from where you get the information. Instead of cloning, if you have a shot, maybe after the shot is okay, tell to the DOP or tell to the director, let me take a clean plate. Just the same dolly movement. It cannot be 100% precise. Just push it in, push it out. We'll take the frame where it is required. You can do the frame blending to get it right in different keyframes. So it's very important when you're dealing. Make sure you get a clean plate as good as possible. So that's important. And then shooting elements for compositing, yes. So it could be very, for example, Kashmir, I guess, or even it could in Bahubali. We had a lot of. Have you seen? I'm sure you would have seen Katapa backstabbing the Bahubali, and there will be a lot of fire that be going behind the back. The reason it's so realistic because we didn't use the stock footages from the internet. We actually shot the plates of the fire. We went, and Duke was very much kind to shoot lot of fire plates for that, so that we have live plates shot as an element, and we composited live plates. Because even if you put the live what do you call the CG based fire, it may not match in. So very important to have the lights goes on to give the fire feel, and go back, shoot the plates, get the natural fire, key it off, and then add some here and there the CG fire that you are generating, and then it begins the realism. So if you go back and see the shot of Katapa stabbing Bahubali, it's a fully stock footage, shot stock footages for the sequence from the director and the DOP by themselves. So you need to tell what you require, what is possible to achieve. Doing a fire element in the CGI takes a lot of volume to consume, and to render it off, then to comp. They might say I want like this, that. It may not be, it's going to take a lot of time. So it's better to shoot. If it's something, use the reason, shoot it. And you can see a lot of movies. If you go and check Michael Bay's movies, a lot of things are practically done. For example, the blast, the fire, those are all done practically, and VFX enhance it more, adding elements even inside, more extra sparks, extra debris to enhance it. That's what VFX does there, and so it looks like so realistic. So if you feel in your sequence elements is required, talk to the director, talk to the DOP, and say we might require this element to be shot. If it's in the budget, go ahead and shoot. So these are the general elements we need to shoot: sparks, debris, explosion. And one of the good movie you can watch is Kamara Sambhavam, the project I worked as an on-set supervisor, where we shot almost everything practically possible. The blast is on location we tried, and we enhanced in the post. So all the blast you see, it was all in the pump up area where it burst out from the ground. It was all on the live, and then we added the extra debris, smoke that jumps out, the swirls and everything. It was in the post, but the impact it is live. Yeah, then it's all about the post production, how it goes on. Then we have a must tweak it generally. So these are the general measuring tapes, and these are the inclometers to check, and this is the tracking markers that I prefer it. And we have a laser level to check, and we have to check your straight lines. You have plumb and bob, and that's it. So what I recommend is like have your color chart, have your camera data report, what is required. These are the must-have things in your hand if you are going for a shoot. And track markers and length discussion chart, chrome ball, and a gray board at least, and have a lighting diagram sheet for your lighting portion report. So this is in terms of the on-shoot planning and execution wise. Any doubts in this? Feel free to ask me, because it's very important chapter, because we are starting with on shoot progress. If you have a passion of becoming VFX supervisor, you might end up as a data wrangler, or as a VFX supervisor, you will land in the place where you need to do all this stuff. So if you have anything, ask. I'm
Guys, any question, please ask.
Holding the conversation for 5 seconds in between, so if you can have, please.
Just put it in the chat box, or directly you can ask.
Good. So let me move forward. Okay. As I was mentioning, this is just like a tip for you guys, where I've seen a lot of profiles uh, that comes as a fresher, and there are a lot of stuff in the resume. There's something not, they hit one point what they want to be. They say I do modeling, I do motion graphics, I'm good in After Effects, I good in Nuke, I good in modeling, I good in everything. But it's not that necessary. You have to be more specific what you are approaching for. So in that, first thing, let's see make sure what you want to be. Right? If you're unsure of what you want to become, it's very simple. If you're putting on a subject line, you are applying for a compositor, make sure you put everything based upon the compositing. What is important? Photography. Yes, you can put a photography. You can say you are an enthusiast in terms of lighting. Good. And you say you want to be a compositor. Better. All 3 points, tick mark for the compositor. And if you go and tell, hey, I'm good in modeling, I do this and I do that, and then you're saying you're a compositor, wait, you want to be a compositor, but there are no other departments, which is next department or the previous department you are covered with. So show some interest. When someone reads your profile, they should feel like what your content you're putting in there relates to your subject. So compositor relates to the lighting, compositor relates to the photography. So if you have putting your passion as a photography, yes, there's one checkpoint you have tick, and make sure that you are honestly your passion about it if you want to be a compositor. And then tell that you are interested in lighting. So these two things will make you feel like, yes, you want to become a compositor. People will think about your profile much more serious. So keep your subject clean, and then make sure that what you want to become. There are many people who just, if you want compositing, they apply for compositing. Lighting, they apply for lighting. I have seen a profile, same guy apply for 3-4 departments. For what? No reason. Because he just want to be somewhere in the position. But please, if you are unsure of what you want to become, ask yourself from down the line. Many companies ask when someone jumps from this company to another company, people ask, what do you want to become in next 5 years? Where do you see yourself? Same question, ask yourself, how do you want yourself to be recognized after 5 years or 3 years? For example, I see a name Akshay. Akshay, how do you want to be like? You want to be treated as a compositor after end of 3 years? Then you are a compositor. You should be apply for compositing. Or if you say, hey, people want to say like I'm a good lighter, then we apply for lighting. So make sure what you want to become in next 3-4 years, and that should be your subject line, right? So let me randomly pick Chirag, or what do you want to become?
So VFX supervisor.
Right? So that's a big goal. To be a VFX supervisor, what are the where do you want to start? That's the point.
So like roto
Okay.
from start.
Okay. So when
Compositing
I
lighting.
okay, see that's where roto compositing lighting. That's correct. But there is a hack, guys. I was talking to one of my friend who came from UK. So there is a hack. People generally says green is too bad, isn't it? Okay, anyway, I'll have it. People talk about roto. So people talk about roto, and people talk about paint, and then you have to become a compositor. So for example, Chirag says he wants to become a VFX supervisor, right? So first he has to join as a roto artist. If you are joining as a roto artist, it will take at least from junior to at least mid, so that you can jump to paint. So to get to your mid, you should at least work for 3 years, so that you become a mid artist. When you join in the paint, right? So they will not put you from roto to comp. You have to go to the paint job. So you have to go to the paint. At least you should be a mid-level artist again. Again, another 3 years. So 6 years to become a junior comper. Studios will take you as a junior comp. So you will start your junior comper level as in your 7th year, and then you have to go to another 3 years. At the end of 10th year, you become a mid compositor. Even though you have an experience of 10 years, you still be considered as a mid compositor. And then senior to takes another 1 or 2 years, depends upon how you perform. Then the lead, then the supervisor. Correct? You can see like 25, 26 years goes hard to become a VFX supervisor. Right? If you start your career from here, I'm not saying this is absolutely wrong. I'm saying this is what you need to see. But there is a hack. What is a hack? There are lot of studios. Example, MPC, Focus. Uh, they are conducting something called as academy. Okay, so academy means they have lighting and they have comp. So when you join in lighting comp, what happens is they will take you as a fresh comp, junior comp. If you go to the CG world, so there is lighting and comp. So you go as a junior lighter or junior comp. From there, you can jump to comp easily. It's very easy to jump. So what I feel is it's not like a what do you call it, wrong method. It's like a hack. But what is it? You may not know how to do the roto. It is eventually very easy to get it done. You have paint, right? Which you can learn it. If you give it yourself a study, you can maximum learn it in 1 year, very max. Right? Or there is a department for you guys to work on it. Right? So don't stress more on this. Do something on creative. Right? Roto, there is no creative in it. What is the fun in it? Whereas paint, there is fun, but you can concentrate more on terms of creative job. Try to attack something junior comp when companies like this opens their spot for academy. It's the best way to go and join an academy as a junior comp or junior later, from where you can start your career very easily. And it's very good if you can start picking up some very different field. For example, DMP, or you can say CFX. You would never believe CFX artists are the most demandable artists anywhere you go. Right? There are no projects without the clock and for in terms of the visual effects industry at the moment in the Hollywood. Right? If you see a lot of companies post on CFX artists, CFX artists, CFX artists, because there are no CFX artists right now in India much. For example, if there are 100,000 compositors, There are only 15 in terms of ratio to that is CFX artist, right? So if you jump in there, that's where you start giving yourself more demand. So check what you want to become. For example, Chira, good that you want to become a VFX supervisor. I would say check on the path, derive your path. Don't go as it goes. That will not work. People say you channelize your path. You say I want to become like this in next 2 years. I need to become like this in next 2 years. Channelize it.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Let's go back. Yeah. And second thing, we are all creative people. We are not someone who is working for, you are looking for the job in IT industry where you put in the Word document. So have some minimalistic design. I would like to show you some example what I have done for one of the guy. I helped him with in getting an offer in job in focus. So he was showing me this where this is the resume where he has put it across what he has learned, blah blah blah. It went for 2 pages. I said, dude, why are you putting like this? Can you make it something more presentable, more creative instead of doing this? Because Word document anyone can do it. I want you to be more clear and more good so that people when you see it looks good. And this is where we came up with the same template, but it's a single page and it looks more appealing. The information is here. You have it. You have your objective. You have your experience, education, everything. Whatever he has it here, it's here. It's here. Which one do you guys prefer? There is no big designs that's gone through it. Just putting your text rightly, aligning your contents rightly, you can actually present your entire stuff properly. So what I would say is when you're preparing your resume, right, put your time effort not just in document type and give to the people. Because it's your profile. People are this is your first impression to them, right? When you're applying it, don't be like someone who just for the namesake you give the resume. Put your effort in showcasing what you want and your minimalistic design skills, so that they know you are passionate about it. That's an example. As I was talking, I just want to show you. This is my recent resume. I have a habit of after every project I just update my resume. So this is my resume. I prepared it. So yeah, keep it minimalistic. Show some passion on your work. Be standout because that makes them to give the impression. Because you are not there to personally tell them this is what I am. So when you show the content right, people will see it more, get the points right, so that they have the eyes to that. Oops. And there are a lot of company portal as I was talking about MPC, Focus, and even Walt, Disney. Those people are actually opening the academy. I have seen an academy like a year back for international students also, where you need to show your contents, right? You might have your interviews and then they'll be picking you for academy. Academy in MPC and Focus are successful because one of my friend I referred joined there, my junior joined there. So I know academy is successful and you can target very easily. So target for academies for your starting of your career. And last thing is about your showreel. Make sure you prepare your showreel that suits your subject. When you're putting yourself as a compositor, please put your compositing showreel. Don't put a modeling showreel there where you created a model. No, we don't want to see your model showreel there. So always make sure if your subject is compositing, get even if it's 2 shots, okay, get your 2 shots breakdown proper. That's all is required. And what they see in terms of your showreel, very simple. Are you matching the colors right? That's all required. Whether your light direction is correct in terms of compositing. If a subject lights comes through this, whether are you matching it properly? So that's more important. So are you doing it? Right? Your blacks, is it right? Your whites, blacks and whites, yes, it's very important. Are you matching it there? Whether it sits in the environment, if there is a haze there, you are trying to add it. So this is very important as a junior level. This is the basics they expect you to present it. And second thing is make sure that you have your breakdown ready. Not the video breakdown. I'm talking about technical breakdown. How we have done the shot. Okay, which is very important because generally people never give their breakdown document. But it's very important to give the breakdown document along with your along with your showreel. Tell them that hey, I started off this. This shot has the complexity of this. So I approached in this method. I have driven this tool, or you might you might arrive at a different tool altogether. So I say like hey, I have used these tools to achieve this output and the output of this, and you can show them how that output was before and after. For example, there is a glow you have done before the glow, after the glow, the procedural glow. So people, oh yeah, they will feel like interested saying like your profile for your two shots, you have done a breakdown properly and say like you have done a case study of your own shots and telling them how you achieve the shots. So what happens then? You are giving them impression how passionate, how good you are in terms of in taking ownership of your shots. So that's very important to prepare your showreel. So always prepare your technical breakdowns. Yeah. So that comes to the conclusion. And when we talking about the breakdowns, this is the this one I didn't prepare it for this presentation and all. This I have done it because I have done a breakdowns of my showreel. When I did the showreel, I did the breakdowns automatically in terms of you can see here narrative, emotional, visual goal. What are the stuff that I have able to achieve it, and the before and after shots. What was the elements that I need to do in the shots. So what happens is it becomes easy when you send them like this document. They'll see how much efforts you are putting in your showreel, how much it means to you to get the job, how much it means the shots for you, the sequence that you've done yourself. So yeah. So please prepare it. Even those two shots, do it. If even it's a student profile, do it. It's very important. Okay. Then it's a showreel time. You might be asking for a long, almost 1 hour, 15 minutes I've been speaking, and you might be asking, who is this guy speaking a lot? What is this work is like? So I'm going to play my showreel. So please, check this out.
Just share the sound. Hello. Hello.
I guess you can drop a message to me.
Sir, share the sound, sir. Sound is not coming.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. That's a good thing. So, new share, advanced computer audio share. Sorry, I need to start again. Undo it. Can you hear it now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So, but
So we can't see the
we
screen.
can't see the
screen, sir.
we can't see the videos.
Okay. So I need to cross check how the screen works. Share it. Now, if I play it, can you hear it?
No, sir.
Okay. So now, how I do it parallelly both? That's something.
After sharing screen, you can share the sound.
Yeah, actually, I just share the screen here. After the sharing, I go to my. Oh, okay, got it. Share sound. Share.
Yeah,
Is it-
fine.
Yes.
Perfect. Oops. Yep. And yep. So officially we are coming to end of the. Can you hear me, guys? Hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So officially we are coming to the end of the today's session. So any questions you can ask me, even from Ashori, you can anything you can ask me. So I'll be happy to share some knowledge.
Sir, you said about FX and scripting, right?
Yep.
Where is it mainly focused?
Where I didn't get it. Where should you
Where
mainly
the FX scripting is mainly focused, like simulation, cloth, like
okay. See, simulation of cloth is different, right? FX at least be specialized in one type of an FX. It could be water, it could be smoke, fire. Everything has its own challenge, and there is no specific saying like you should be specialized in only one. As an FX artist, if you go, they expect you to be good in everything. Okay, start with basics FX. There are a lot of tutorials out there. I would suggest go to Houdini. Don't start with Maya. If you want basics, try to see what's happening in Maya. But most of the companies move towards Houdini for the FX because of the procedural methods. So yeah.
yes, sir.
But don't worry about the scripting part, which you learn it, but start with a basic understanding of how what is required to calculate it. Okay. And your real world physics is the one which is what is going to calculate in the FX. So you should understand that technicality terms, how scaling down the object. For example, you have a set which is like 100 feet building is collapsing. Practically building 100 feet building in the CG and making it to collapse in the FX, God knows when it can collide and come down. So basically, the real-time world, they'll scale it down. Entire world scene will come to 0.15, so that feet will be in terms of 15 centimeters. So there will be some relativity scale that happens in terms of FX. So you should understand those terms. So based upon that is what your FX will function. So understand your basics, right? That's more important.
Yeah, understand, sir. Thank you.
Anyone
Any other-
else? Anyone else is having any question?
No, sir.
Cool.
Okay, so
We'll
today's
wrap
session.
up we'll wrap
Yeah,
up.
we'll wrap up, and we'll continue from tomorrow, same timing, 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay, so sir will be showing some case studies and the CGs more deep into the CGs, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so see you tomorrow, guys. Then okay, so we'll continue from here only tomorrow, same timing, 5:30. Okay,
Yes,
thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Have a
sir.
nice day. Bye.
Bye.